When we have anxiety, it shows one really, really important thing. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on episode 873 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well. And folks, this is being taped. It's not that Tom and I are wearing the same clothes. We are taping, recording this episode. So that means, of course, when you make your comments, they won't show on the program, but I promise Tom and I will look at each and every comment you share and we'll respond as soon as we can.
You making that for both of us or just yourself?
I think we'll both respond as soon as we both can. We tend to respond.
Okay. I just was checking. Want to make sure whether I'm speaking for me or you're speaking for me.
You don't have to respond. I can respond.
No, I'm happy to, and I like to. So I just wanted to. It's giving me a little anxiety to think about that.
Oh boy.
Well,
here we go.
On that, what did that show, and what did that mean? And anyhow, that's more. We'll get into that a little bit more as we dive into our topic. Before we get to that, though, good morning and welcome to today's Antidote. As Bob mentioned, we are recording this show, and yet still, we wanted to provide you with our value. I have a lacrosse tournament, and so unfortunately, that's not able to do it. I tried to do that once I think that was the first show we ever missed, was when I tried to do it from the parking lot of the lacrosse tournament.
That was a mess.
It just didn't go as planned. Let's put it that way.
It did not.
Thus the recording. So anyways, this is today's Antidote, where we have a conversation around a weekly topic. This week's topic, as Bob mentioned, is anxiety. And today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that and talk about what it shows. Interesting. And as we go through that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments, because it will add value to those who are watching it when they see it. And we will gain that value when we see it and respond to it. We just won't be able to add it to our show at the time or post it up in the comments, as Bob mentioned earlier. Then at the conclusion of that conversation, we will share our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you figure out if things maybe feel like chaos or chaotic, feel like they're out of control, feel like you just are stuck, that hopefully this will be the thing that you can leverage to help you move forward along your own unique pathway to success. And so please, again, as well, put in the comments if you have an antidote that you would like to share that you think would add value to others. Before we dive into that, though, each morning, Bob and I do our celebration. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I ran into a business acquaintance over the weekend, just out and about, and ran into this person, and they spoke very highly of what you and I do on this program. They,
Really?
Yeah, wouldn't have been someone I would have thought paid attention to what we do, but they were like, oh, I catch you guys probably 2-3 times a week. And I got to tell you, it really sets my day up. I've learned a lot. You've reminded me of things I knew and I just forgot. And I really like what you do. Keep doing it. I was like, wow. And
you must have loved that.
What's that?
You must have loved those words of affirmation.
I played it off pretty well. And I tried not to do my usual. Really, you don't have anything better to do than listen to us. But clearly it made an impact for this person. So I celebrate that person. I'm not going to name their name because they asked me not to, and I'm going to honor that. But it was really nice and really validated a lot of what we do. So I'm going to celebrate that person and the fact that sometimes we just don't know the value we share.
I think oftentimes we don't realize the value we share, which is why so often we hold back. That could be a topic for another week. We'll get to that.
Holding back. Ooh, I like that. I'm going to write that one down. I'll get lost in the shuffle. All right. Go ahead. What are you celebrating?
I'm celebrating the fact that we can do this show and record it. and that it allows us to do other things. Because while we find that we can provide lots of value doing this, we're also able to do it by recording, and that still has value, and that allows us to be able to do other things. Oh, the wonders of technology. So I am celebrating that I can be at a lacrosse facility helping to manage a tournament and at the same time be able to share value on the internet.
Nice. I like that. It is nice. It gives us some flexibility.
Flexibility and less anxiety that people are worried about. Why aren't we doing our show? That's the greater concern for me.
Is it really the greater concern?
I think it's the greater concern for all. I just didn't want to overplay it.
Okay. So let's get into the episode.
Sounds good.
Anxiety, what does it show? This is going to be really short and sweet and to the point. Yesterday, we were talking
2 days
about.
in a row.
Well, I think it shows that we care. I don't have anxiety over the things I don't care about. When I take the trash out, I have no anxiety over. Well, actually, my anxiety is over whether I have the keys to get back into the penthouse. But short of that, I don't really have any anxiety over taking out the trash.
You don't worry that the bag might break?
Nope.
Really?
Really don't.
Okay, cool.
Taking out the trash is one of the very most comforting things I do, I think. Because the bar is set so low.
By whom? You or the...
By me.
Anyone?
And it affects no one else other than me. And I think that's the thing. We were talking in yesterday's program, Monday's program, episode 872, about anxiety. We were talking about how I came to the realization that usually anxiety is around what we do and how it affects other people, their reaction to our actions. So I think it shows that we care what other people think. As we move more away from what other people think and what's important to us, I think our anxiety starts to lessen or can lessen.
Are you sure there's nobody on a balcony watching you take the garbage out?
I don't care.
Okay.
I really don't. And believe me, everything I do where I live now is heavily scrutinized.
Okay.
I met someone I hadn't met the other day, and I said, oh, what you, I gave my name. He's like, oh, I know who you are. Oh,
I'm thinking anxiety.
Yeah. I've heard all about you was his comment. I said, I hope it's all good. He's like, oh, I just know that you are very active. I don't know what that. I think that means I leave after 7 p.m. some nights to go out. And most of the people that I live around are buttoned up by about 7:30 in the evening.
Fair enough.
So, yeah,
well, I think that has value. I mean, I think it is valid.
The fact that I go out after 7, or
the fact that it shows that we care. I think it also shows that it cares, but it's also that it matters, and that that we think, and I think that comes from that we think that whatever it is that we're doing is going to have an impact on someone else, or usually that it's going to come back and have an impact on us. And because of that, we are worried a little bit about what does that look like. And I think that's, the other thing I think it sometimes shows is worry, a concern about what will happen that, of course, we cannot control, and yet still is so much a part of who and what we are and how we react to things, that it's one of those things that I think worry is something that, again, is about wanting to control everything, and we can't. And so I think that it also shows a little bit of worry, concern, all of those things that are a result of, I think, what you said, how others are going to react to the things that we do or say.
Well, that's the episode. Good. I think the challenge, though, is we have to deal with that. We have to find strategies to deal with that situation. And that, to me, is the difficult part of this. It's easy to say it shows that we care. It's not that we can care less. It's how we manage that, right? I think I've become more skilled at saying, okay, And I give it the best example, I think, is the Brady Bunch. Remember the Brady Bunch? And what did they tell, I think it was Marsha, when she had to give a presentation? Picture everyone in their underwear as she was giving that presentation, which probably these days would be somewhat scandalous now that I think about it. But in the world of the 70s, that was the thing. So what it really was is, don't worry about the people as much as what you're doing, right?
Yes. Although I think it's interesting, as you were talking about that, I got thinking. So does that mean that if we're not anxious about something, we don't care? Doesn't matter? Which to me is a little bit of a slippery slope.
I think the more we care, the more anxious we get.
Well,
and the example I'd give of that is someone who gets married. They love this person, that person loves them, and suddenly the wedding day comes and they're totally nervous. Like, really? You weren't nervous about this relationship yesterday or the day before or 6 months ago when you got engaged. Now suddenly you're nervous because you're standing in front of your family and friends and you're about to make this lifelong commitment.
Sure.
We tend to make it more serious than it is, right? You weren't sweating this as much 3 days ago, right?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I mean, I know the one thing that I think it makes me think about, though, is if we are supposed to be, it shows that we care about something. Shouldn't we all just have anxiety attacks all the time?
I think many of us do. I don't know that they're attacks as much as we feel the anxiety all day.
So are you saying that if someone doesn't show anxiety, that means they don't care?
In some ways, yeah, I think so. The things I'm not anxious about, taking out the trash, not really anxious about that. Making my lunch today, my salad, not really sweating. Well, I'm going to cut the carrots this way. I'm going to throw the cherry tomatoes on the lettuce. Hopefully the lettuce isn't bad. Might throw some goat cheese on there. I've got some leftover chicken I might put on there. Not really a big deal.
Okay, so
it doesn't affect anyone else but me.
That's an extreme. What about the other things that we are confident about, skill sets that we think we do really well and we don't get anxious? Does that mean that so you've always said, I believe, that you don't get nervous when you go up and give a presentation?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I get nervous for about 10 seconds before I walk on the stage.
So does that mean that because you're not getting more nervous about it, you don't care?
I think I have become comfortable in doing it, but yet there's still some anxiety around it.
Okay. So is there a correlation between the amount of anxiety we show and how much it matters to us?
I don't know.
That's why I asked you the question.
I'm struggling with it because it's when we do something new, right? I was talking about yesterday's episode where I made flourless chocolate cake over the weekend. It was something new.
Okay.
The bar that was set for that was really low. The person I was making it for was going to be excited that I took the time to make something.
That's not what you said yesterday, though. Yesterday, you said that it was very important.
It was important to me.
Yes.
I don't think it was important to the other person.
Well, how do you know that?
I think the fact that I took the time to make the effort was what was important to that person.
From your perspective.
And I think that's what we do with anxiety, right? It gets in our head. Oh, this is the biggest presentation in the world. Oh, I got to nail this sales call. Oh, I'm leading a really important meeting for my staff. What if I do a lousy job with that meeting? They're going to think less of me. I'm not going to be the leader I need to be. And I'm going to get fired. And we go down the slippery slope.
Yes. And I guess my question, though, is why shouldn't we then be anxious all the time?
I think most of us are.
Okay. And if we're not, I think I'm going roundabout in a circle here, but I think if we're not, what does that show that we don't care? Like, I think that to me is a slippery slope, is that if just because someone isn't.
I think it shows that if we're not anxious, we've either become comfortable in what we're doing, which means it's about something we feel good about, so we don't really care what people think. Like, I'm fairly confident in my writing ability.
Okay. Until
if someone criticizes my writing, have at it. Someone criticized a book I wrote not long ago. They thought it was a whole bunch of malarkey. I was like, okay, great. Don't read it. Someone else burned a book I wrote and put it on Facebook. Didn't bother me. I think it's kind of funny.
Okay. And have you always felt that way?
Around my writing, yeah. I'm fairly. I also know that I worked at a newspaper. People criticize the writing there all the time. Oh, you misquoted me. Well, here's the tape recording.
Okay.
It was back when we had tape, by the way.
I think it's just something that is interesting. I think we can overly compare, I think that's the word, when someone is anxious and the importance of it. And I think that I almost think that that's what seems to be happening more and more, is that everyone seems to think that everything is important. And thus they feel like because of that, they're more anxious all the time. And not being able to ever step back and say, yeah, this is important and I'm just not anxious about it. And because I think that is an opportunity to be out there. And I think there's also the other side is, and I've heard people say this, well, if you're not nervous, it must not be that important to you. Maybe, and maybe not. So I think that, and this may be my one thing, is that I'm not sure what it shows. I think with everyone, it's going to be different. For some people, they show anxiety just because they're always anxious and they're always worried, and because they make a big deal of everything. For others, they're very confident and comfortable in what they do, and so they don't get as anxious, even though they still understand and appreciate the value of what they're doing. And I almost think that if we try to qualify it or standardize it, is maybe a different way to share that, then we are creating a system whereby, which maybe is where we're at today, anxiety is so prevalent. Is because everyone thinks everything is so important. And so they are more and more anxious because of the importance they feel.
That's pretty good.
You like that?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to argue against it, but I don't think I can.
Well, you can always argue against it.
I think anxiety shows we care, and I think you're right. We often care about more things than we need to, and we probably put too much weight on some things that aren't that big a deal. Taking out my trash really shouldn't draw it. Isn't a big deal in the scheme of things. Pumping gas in my car, not really a big deal. And the sales presentation I do that I've done 100 times, or the staff meeting I lead, not as big a deal, or it shouldn't draw anxiety because I can handle the situation, whatever's thrown at me.
Well, and I think I think it's also, how do we look at others who have that? And I think you're going to love this, that I think sometimes what it shows is others' judgments of us or of ourselves. And,
I absolutely agree with that.
And I think that, for you, taking out the trash is nothing. You don't think it's a second about it. There may be, I'm sure there are people out there who, especially given if everything is scrutinized in your community, they're worried about, like, oh, what if maybe my trash smells too much, or maybe I have too much trash. What are people thinking of me? Or, geez, there's a lot in this bag. What if it breaks? And then everyone is going to be watching as I try to fix it. Or what am I wearing to take the trash out? And I think it's that constant concern of what others are thinking of us, the judgments others are making of us, that drives a lot of the anxiety. And so I think that if we stop trying to figure out what others are judging us around and figuring out if I seem anxious, why, then maybe I'll be less anxious.
I like that. That's my one thing.
Okay. All right.
What he said.
Ditto. So I think other people do the same.
Ditto. That's it.
All right, everyone. If you have a one thing that you'd like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments. We know that it'll be available there for someone to gain value from. If you're listening to the podcast and you know there's no place to comment, as we've said over and over and over, you can always join us inside of our Facebook group, Sculpt Your Business from Chaos and Confusion to Confidence and Control, and maybe a little less anxiety. Even though you might, whatever you're doing might really matter to you. Who knows? Maybe you can find something that will help you get to that point. Either way, we look forward to seeing you inside of that group. If not, we will see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
Hey, in the meantime, folks, embrace the renegading you. It is so worth it.
Yes, indeed. And go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Hey, it's your chance. Sculpt your business. Get rid of chaos and confusion. Go to confidence and control. It's possible. Tom and I know how. We've got a system. It's a process. It works. Works so well, so easy. Just go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com and you'll see how.